Morning, Alan. Morning, Alan. Ooh. Oh, that's going to be a problem here. Man. That's going to rotate around again.
Afghan women believed in God.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. There's quirks I'm now working through.
You know, it's weird. My system crashed when you said hello.
It's 9 hours.
There must be something in that, Alan.
Yeah, it's some karmic or something. I have no idea. Anyway, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. I gotta check on something here with my YouTube things.
I don't know about you guys. I'm having trouble with all these video things this week, the video conferencing.
Yeah.
My iPad refuses to log into Google or Zoom or anything, and yet and it keeps telling me I don't have internet, and yet I can get email, I can get everything else. I just cannot get into a Google or a Zoom on it. I don't know why. So I'm on my computer today. So
Welcome. I'll finish up this whatever's going on with my YouTube real quick, and then I'll join in the conversation here. Just a moment.
When I was practicing, I had 3 monitors in my office, and people would walk in and automatically assume that I was a techie. And I would tell them, I only know 3 things. I know how to turn this on, I know how to use it, and I know who to call when it doesn't work. That's it. I have no knowledge of tech beyond that. So
yeah, I've got 3 monitors. I've got the iPad, I've got the big Mac, and which is not a burger, by the way, and I got the small Mac.
well, I liked when I was working, I really enjoyed the 3 monitors because it really made me efficient. I could work on more than 1 document. I could work on 3 documents. I could, it was very efficient.
I really love the big Mac. I mean, it's a 20, I don't know, it's a 30-inch screen, and when I'm doing my book, I can put up 1 page, or I can put up like 10 pages.
Right.
Much easier to work on up there.
Is driving and zooming legal?
That's all right. She's not driving. She's just in a simulator.
Yeah, so just watch the road and not us.
Oh, sorry. I gotta go pay my taxes.
Well,
and our city offices are still all closed. So if we don't put it in the little box, we have to pay $86 if we use our charge card. Isn't that crazy?
It's good to see you, Janet. I've been thinking about you.
Yeah, I was too. I feel bad. I have clients, and I've had a lot of clients at 11 o'clock, but my 11 o'clock moved her appointment. So I was like, yay, I can come today.
That's great. Somebody's got something.
That's my car because I'm not wearing my seatbelt, so I can jump out and jump back in.
So she's not only video while she's driving, she hasn't got a seatbelt on. I mean, seriously?
Well, since they track everything we do now, there's nothing hidden in life, right?
Especially when you log on to Zoom.
Well, my last name's not up there anyway.
That's right. God bless you, Janet. Okay. so-
No, that's a little bit irresponsible, I think.
Well, there
Oh,
you go. Another reason that I'm old.
my grandma would say, first she'd say, now that I'm an older woman, I can like paint a yellow stripe on my car and put a Roadrunner on there and everything. No one cares because I'm old and no one will. That's great. Okay. So I am way off track. Let's do this. All right. How do you find your why? Okay, that was next. Okay. Looks like we've got about the same thing. That's good. All right.
So since our chat, Alan, how's things going?
Did I miss something good? Did I
conversation.
miss something good?
What you missed was me not saying anything and not getting this thing going because I'm working on just a few notes from when I talk about stuff.
And what is it your business is?
Mine?
No, Adam.
My business is to make life interesting. At least for the moment.
Former teacher, so he's full of piss and vinegar.
That's right. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'll get serious now. I just wanted to make sure I had that little bit in there. Yeah, this is kind of like it takes up a lot of time, but I like doing it. So some of the stuff that we do in here is it's not totally there. Okay, so there we go. We got YouTube on. That actually had a quirk this morning. I'm at Sparks Flow. Yeah, we're not doing the Facebook thing yet, and you guys can use any of the stuff for your promotions if you want. Here's the thing: we're gonna do a welcome. Then we're gonna tell you you're gonna tell you who you are and what you do. And respond to the topic, and then we'll open discussion, which has already started. And here we are. So, what makes a goal potent was the topic this particular week, and it's going to be juicy because the reason we care about goals is because they help us kind of get somewhere, and we want to be able to direct our brains in that direction. So the rest of us will follow along. The reflecting on the abstract is one of the ways we do that because if we just do the concrete goals, the SMART goals, as it's said sometimes, especially people like me, we can totally disconnect, right? So I could tell you when, how, and what, and all that stuff. But if I don't know my why, then it's going to be a problem. And so one of the ways you do it is you create your desired outcome. So welcome to Friday, Adam's Friday Flow with Entrepreneurs. And are you going to introduce yourselves, your company if you have one, and what you do for who, and then you can paste your information on the chat here. I've got everybody's here, but if you want me to pull up your web screen or something, you can put that on there, Lisa, and see what we got. I'm Adam Sparks Brechtel. The company that I have is called Sparks Flow. And the idea I really like to go after is everybody's got inspiration, and I just want to help clear the way for that. And that's what I'm trying to do today in this whole program. As Alan pointed out, but another title I go by is a professional organizer. And one would think that maybe that's not what I'm showing this morning. So there's a lot of truth to that, but there's also a lot of truth that there's a lot of places I did organize. It's just, it's not all coming together right on time. I am, let's say, 5 minutes late as far as starting goes, but you guys had a great conversation, which was wonderful. And I'm glad that was able to happen. So Alan, Phil, Lisa, and then Janet.
Well, mine is short and simple. I'm a retired entrepreneur and I'm a pro bono muse.
Pro bono?
pro bono.
What was the last word? News.
Muse,
Muse.
M-U-S-E.
Like one of those godlike I'm trying to think of something.
Well, not to forget the godlike part. I mean,
the-
yesterday I spent an hour and a half on the phone with a friend and colleague who's got a rather serious case that she's working on, and I just, gave her thoughts and ideas and suggested issues that she had to address, and that's my way of giving back.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah. So, and someone else who mentioned Muse was in that, what's her name? She had that really blowout book called Eat, Pray, Love or something. And she did a TED Talk and talked about how one of the great things about thinking about having a muse is that you don't have to own all the exceptional product, you don't have like this burden of either doing well or bad. You just
I don't have to advertise. I don't have to rent a space. I don't have to do anything except wake up in the morning.
Well, good morning.
Well, so long as you wake up, Alan, that's good.
Well, that's that gives you an opportunity to have another day of life. So
Phil, you're up.
Sorry, I'm on.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a little saying I've learned on about that, Alan. When you have more yesterdays than tomorrows, you need to make the most of life.
yeah, make the most of today.
Yeah. I'm Phil Wilton. I love everything strategy-wise. And funny you should talk about goals today, because I had a goal yesterday to actually complete the resource-based view of strategy, part 2 of my book, which is on its 3rd rewrite. And it is just phenomenally hard work writing a book. But I'm really pleased with the result, because I've got so many company examples in how you identify value, rarity, imitability, and how you organize yourself. And I sent it off to my dear lady friend, who's actually proofreading the book for me. And I said, I can't talk to you till Monday because I've got other business things to do, but you got the weekend to read it and we can go through it on Monday. So I had a really good day yesterday, but it was really tough.
That's exciting. Thanks, Phil. Lisa.
You're on mute. There you
go. Yeah, I always keep it on mute so that you don't hear the menagerie in the background.
I have a guest with me today too. It's actually right here.
Oh,
yeah, he's alive.
I'm gonna be a dog in my next life. They just get to lie around and sleep all day, and that's like my favorite. So, what do I do in this life? What my company does is we help small to mid-sized business owners manage their accounting and finance. We do, we do the compliance, but a lot of what we do is just helping them navigate what can be a very, it's a very esoteric field. It's like it has its own language. So we manage your finances so you can manage your growth.
That's great. Thanks, Lisa. Janet. Well, actually, if you're driving too, you don't have to answer.
Hey, that's okay. I'm at a stoplight right now.
Okay.
I'm a counselor. I'm a teacher, and I'm a counselor, and I work at 2 agencies. And now that telehealth.
Lost her. Okay.
Light turned green.
That's good. All right. Thanks, Janet. All right. So the next thing, okay, so let's go ahead and like address the topic. And Phil jumped into it a little bit too, of like already getting to the goals stuff. But the, my goal for always doing this Friday Flow thing is that I get to create a situation where people don't have to go out in COVID in order to interact and build up our businesses. And that's my major goal. Being organized every time is not totally part of that goal, but actually showing up is. And so I feel like I really accomplished that part. But there's this thing that I heard about recently, and I know Miriam Ortiz Pino uses this term. It's called the juicy desired outcome. And when she's saying it, I was like, oh, that sounds really descriptive and fun. And that's a good thing. But then I found she learned that from a lady in town who does these courses. Her name is Joycelyn, and she has this company called Farther to Go. Have you guys ever heard of that company? No, anybody? Okay, good. So I'm telling you about a new person. She has like all kinds of research, and she basically has these courses that you can sign up for and basically learn about the way your brain works. And one part of it is learning about juicy desired outcomes, the importance and how that works and how that really helps your brain focus on what you actually want to do. And then the rest of your brain will like kind of get in line and actually follow along with it. Anyway, so that's a lot of what I'm going to say today or think about today comes from her and the couple meetings that I've had with her. So it's pretty neat. The big thing she said was, or the big thing I took away from the time that I spent with her was that it's actually hard for people to name their juicy desired outcome. Like that's like one of the difficult parts for people because it's usually abstract. We can do SMART goals, and even getting people to do SMART goals is kind of tough. But if the SMART goal doesn't have some connection to your emotions, then it's not really going to drive you to get it done. So, so that's Janet. You might want to turn off your video because it's a little distracting. Thanks. Okay. So, wow, that's weird. I still got this screen up. Her screen up. Okay. So, have you had that same experience that you guys have ever had like goals that you've set, but then they didn't like fruition, and because of some lack of like actually having the goal in mind?
Goals that we've set, but what?
Well, anything really. If you have a way to work in talking about your business, that's excellent.
I have a goal to get this iPad working today because I'm really frustrated with it.
The what pad? Oh, your
iPad.
Oh, your iPad. Yeah.
Well, I can't directly address your question, but my last profession was as an actor. And it's where I used to do seminars, and I included a segment on goal setting, and I used the SMART goal guideline.
Yeah.
I actually put it into full practice when I went to LA.
Yeah.
And I went to LA without a plan, but with a strategy. I talked to as many people as I could. From that, I developed a plan and set up goals. And my initial goals was to audition as much as I could, because I wanted to get comfortable auditioning. I wanted to book. I booked student films, non-paid work, so I could get comfortable on the set. After about a year, I decided that I no longer wanted to work for free, and so my number of auditions went down. But my goals were very specific. I wanted to get an agent. I wanted to become SAG eligible. And those are things that are outside of my control. But I I was in class every week, and I
Yeah.
took a number of different classes. I took audition classes, I took cold read classes, and then I took a class that gave us an evaluation model to use that we could evaluate our auditions as objectively as possible. And I incorporated that. And I kept a spreadsheet of every audition that I ever had.
Wow. That's
So
great.
I ended up in 3 years with 154 auditions. I had 35 shoots. I got an agent. I became SAG eligible. And after that, I mean, it's such a serendipitous business, but I just intuitively felt that if I really focused my energies and focused it on what I could control, then I might have a better chance. And one of the adjustments I made based on a class was going into an audition not worried about booking the role, but the expression is book the room. Do something memorable so that casting director remembers you. And it actually worked. I won an audition for a network series. It was the best audition that I had. I did not get the role, but about a month later, I got a call from the casting director who said, "Are you available this week? I have a role in that series if you're available tomorrow." And I was, and I did. It was my one tiny co-star role in a network series, but what it did was it proved out the goal setting that if I focused on booking the room, that I would be memorable, and so I didn't worry about booking the role. And where that might translate is when you're interviewing or being interviewed by potential clients, is don't worry about getting the job. Just be authentic, be your authentic best,
Yeah.
be straightforward, and you might not get that particular job, but if you're memorable, remember they're probably going to be talking to 2 or 3 or 4 people. And if you're memorable, particularly for being authentic and straightforward and honest, they may circle back to you. And for me, if they didn't circle back to me, then I didn't want them as a client. Because if they didn't want authentic and honest and straightforward, then I didn't want them for a client. But in terms of goal setting, that profession was the one where I actually just intentionally incorporated very specific goal setting, and I tracked it and I evaluated it on an ongoing basis, and I really found that helpful.
That's pretty cool. So you kind of tracking it now, because now I'm thinking like how I'm going to move on to the next question, or if the discussion doesn't start on its own. But you just said that tracking it was one of the big things. What were the other 2 parts?
Well, it was being intentional about the goal setting and being specific. I mean, SMART, gets used a lot, but I incorporated all 5 of those things. They were specific goals.
Yeah.
They were measurable. They were achievable. They were relevant, and they were trackable. I mean, I ran into a number of particularly young people. When you asked them what their goal was, they say, "My goal is to walk the red carpet, and be nominated for an Oscar." Well, okay, that's a great goal, except it is so far out of your control that there's very little that you give a great performance, but there's such a big political element to it. And, 5 or 6 or 7 people get nominated each year for every category. And there are 100,000 people acting. It's achievable only theoretically. And my sense was that you set yourself up for failure. So when I was teaching goal setting in seminars, I used two examples. If you set your goal for today is, I'm going to get more business today than I ever got in my whole life, and I'm going to make more money than I've ever made in my whole life today, probably it's great, but it's probably not achievable. If your goal is to live until 5 o'clock, well, I hope you make that one, but it doesn't take any stretch to do that. So my advice to people was, set your goals that were achievable and relevant, but also goals that stretch you a bit, that you have to move beyond maybe your comfort level. And when you achieve that goal, I mean, then you can feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, Joycelyn kind of mentions this in that she kind of shows like you have where you are right now, which is kind of status quo, and then where you want to be kind of thing. And your brain like wants to focus on things that are really, you know, exciting or something that's actually going to keep its attention. And so that's right. If it's too small of a goal, then it's not going to be able to keep it. But actually, if you think of the impossible or dream of the impossible, you might actually motivate yourself to do it too. So I'm wondering what that break off is there, like when that is. But that the greater the separation, like the greater that your brain can actually like latch onto that goal as far as an abstract idea.
Well,
But
you have to know yourself. I mean, dreaming the impossible dream, that's it's a great song, and it's a great thing if you can handle quote unquote failure. Because if you dream the impossible dream and you don't get there, how are you going to handle that?
Yeah.
And everybody will answer that question differently. One of the things that you either learn how to deal with or you go home in Hollywood is failure, because rejection is a part of every single day. So, it's the same kind of idea. If you can handle that, well, then, okay, set lofty goals. But if most people need to achieve some success to keep them going. So if you stretch yourself every day and you achieve success, you can really get a great momentum going.
Yeah.
That's the end of my lecture.
Hey.
I like the bit, Alan, you said about where, when you was going for the interview or the audition, you didn't concentrate on trying to convince the people. You went in to convince the room. You wasn't driving at just making yourself look good. You was trying to go in and make sure that every presence in the room was going to be addressed.
Right.
And that's I can imagine that from the interviews that I've done, where I've sat and wanted to espouse as many good things as I've done in my life as possible in the shortest possible time, as opposed to just be me and casual and a little bit more relaxed about the situation.
Well, the ancillary benefit is when you're so focused on that one goal, you can let desperation could kind of introduce itself into the dynamic, and that never is a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah, the desperation thing, that's a something that she kind of addressed, and she called one thing, there's two types of tension that you have. One is creative tension, and the other one is psychological tension. And the psychological tension is the desperation part. It's where you're focusing on what you're afraid of failing, as opposed to the creative tension is focusing on, I have these constraints. These are the things that are going to limit me. What can I do within those constraints? And you do need to mention, you need to figure out, like, name the actual, like, psychological constraints, psychological tension, because once you mention it, then you can let go of it. Like, you know it's there, you recognize it. Now you're gonna focus on, all right, so I have a certain amount of time. I was with this person, like in the room, like if you're acting, right? You have a certain amount of time that you're gonna be able to be up there on stage. You have a certain amount of time to like interact with each person as you walk through the room. And you're like, figure out how you can be creative within those constraints. And the guy up there on the stage is not offering Oscars. So that's beyond your certain situation, but being creative with a certain like limit space. And then, you know, desperation be like, you know, thinking like, I might not get the job. I may not get the role, you know, that kind of thing, would be focusing on, like you said, some things that are out of your control, but also the thing that you're really worrying about. And that's when the desperation comes in.
Yeah, and in an audition, it's 1 to 3 minutes. So you just pack it all into a very short time frame. And so you know, people crumble in those situations, and it's a skill that you have to learn. But I think auditioning clients is a skill all unto itself.
So Lisa, do you have some good examples of like goals that have worked for you and ones that haven't? Or for clients, whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, that's a lot of what we actually do is we sit down with the clients, and by we, I mean the account managers. We sit down with the clients usually at least once a quarter. And, you know, because one of the biggest things that we do is we sit down and we're like, okay, you know, what do you want to do in your business this year? What do you want to do in your business in 3 years, in 5 years, you know, that kind of thing. Of course, that changes depending on the age of the business, because some of our businesses are a little young for thinking much past 5 years. But one thing that we do is we help them figure out, you know, what part of their goals are in their control and what part aren't in their control. And the part that isn't in their control, we kind of do like, I guess, risk mitigation, and help them figure out ways to plan for that risk. Planning for risk is a big thing that we do.
Yeah. That's
So,
creative tension right there. That's good stuff.
huh?
That's creative tension. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Plan B through Z. That's our motto. So yeah, definitely, you know, working with our clients to achieve their goals. And sometimes, you know, a lot of the time they do manage to do that unless there's a major disruption in their industry, or if there's something, you know, outside of their control. Like, you know, some of my clients have not been affected by the pandemic because they are essential services, whereas other of my clients are not legally allowed to operate because of the pandemic, because they put on large events and things like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, those, and, you know, so for the ones that are, you know, being affected, of course, you know, we have to come up with different goals for them. But, you know, I think, sorry, I just completely lost my train of thought.
Great. So one of the things with the COVID too is, you're right, they can't operate the way they usually did, right? So they might have to, they could possibly take another angle. But that's another thing with the goal setting is, if as you're aiming for it, like as Joyson explains it, as you're aiming for this goal, you actually can adjust it. Like it's not, she actually, kind of like what Alan said of like getting too focused on the goal is if you get too focused on the goal of like, this is just how it has to happen. Even when you put out your smart part, like the idea is you're trying to reach for something and you're getting smarter about it as you go. Like you're getting learning more about it. And so even like with your 5-year goals and stuff, they have this thing, but if it's inflexible, your brain starts to lose interest. And because, especially if it's something that's not actually practical from what you can see in front of you, right? So, but if you continue to adjust it, then your brain continues to have interest in it, and then you're able to still focus on the thing. It was kind of cool to think of that way.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like one of the first things when my business partner and I started our company in 2008 is we made a business plan, and I don't even think the iPhone had hit Texas yet when we made our business plan. So technology was very different is my point. So now we like to drag that out every once in a while just for like the hysterical laughs, because our goals definitely changed for, you know, because we had a 1 year, you know, we're very organized. We have a, you know, we had 1, 3, 5 and you know, on up goals, and pretty much all of our 5-year goals changed between the time we wrote that and even by the time we hit our 3-year mark, because, well, for one thing, the economy crashed right after we started the company. And then technology massively changed. So yes, our goals, a lot of the way that we went about achieving our goals changed dramatically. For one thing, we had always thought that we would open up a storefront, and that to this day has never happened. We have never had a physical location.
And you're happier for it.
Yes, but when we started our company, having a physical location was almost a necessary thing in the accounting industry. And then there were major disruptions that, you know, completely changed even the need for that. And so we ended up actually becoming kind of a cutting edge in the accounting industry, because we were green, paperless, in the cloud long before, like a lot of our colleagues were scrambling to become, you know, remote, in the cloud, work from home when COVID hit. And, you know, so I get a lot of surveys these days from, you know, accounting professional groups, and they're like, hey, how are you dealing with this? And it's like, well, nothing has actually changed with how we operate. Like even a little, the entire team has worked from home since the beginning. So, but to your point, you know, just goals change as, you know, things that we can't control change. And yeah, I think if we were still completely doggedly focused on moving into a storefront location, like I might have lost interest, because I hate working in an office.
It's great to know. And that's part of your, you know, creative constraints, is that you know that there's certain things like you, especially now, whether you knew it then or not, you'd hate working in an office.
I don't really like working in an office. Is that a social thing, or is that or what? The you prefer to be at home, insular?
Well, there are two factors to that. Number one, commuting requires that I get up earlier. And I think, you know, it's been well established that I'm not, in fact, a morning person. Also, in accounting, we work like hellaciously long hours. So during tax season, that can mean that you almost never see your home. Like when I was working in corporate, people would just bring sleeping bags and shove them under their desk and not even bother going home, because there was a gym downstairs. So they would just shower in the gym. And I was like, I hate this life. The second thing is that I now, not when I started the company, but over the years as, you know, life evolves, the menagerie is actually all special needs animals. So I like to be home with them all day, so that I can attend to their needs.
Animals, what a good company and calming effect they have.
Yes, and they're quite amusing. And yeah, right now they're singing, and later they'll start talking.
We actually can't hear them.
You can't hear them? I can totally hear them.
I don't
that's
hear any
the
animals.
can't. If they get loud enough, they have incredible range because, that's what they do in the wild.
Wild. That's cool. Yeah. So that's kind of neat to hear that you almost had a front, like a storefront, but then because of the timing and the shift in the market, you're positioned well to not have to deal with that and actually leverage, the new change in the world.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. That's when you're doing your SMART goals, I wonder how that would fit in there, like as measurable, responsive. What's R stand for again?
Relevant.
Oh, you know what? I actually have this.
It's relevant.
Relevant, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound.
Ah, that's great. So in yours, do you address the abstract part or the actual trying to figure out the emotional, the desired part? Because you could talk about all these things that are very dry and helpful, but if there's no desire in it.
Well, that's where the client comes in. So the client is like, this is what I want for my business. So they've got all that, and for us, and I think I've mentioned this before, like most of us aren't in accounting because we love accounting. We're in accounting because it's a very useful tool to help businesses grow.
That's great.
And that's where our passion is. So that's where our feelings come in.
That's great.
That we, unless somebody comes up with some cracked out idea, because that's never happened. Just something that's completely wildly, I want to be the next Amazon in 5 years. Like, I just don't think we're going to be able to do that. Given, the fact that you currently have had an Etsy store for 5 years that only 5 people have shopped at, but whatever. So, but if their goals are, if their goals are anywhere in the realm of reality, then we're always very excited to help them do that. But of course, so yeah, I guess I would say that's where the feeling part comes in, is just getting on board. And then of course, internally, with my business partner and I, because we built this company from scratch, built it through blood, sweat, and tears, begging, borrowing, but not stealing. It's, it's the kind of thing, because we built this thing from scratch, and because it means so much to both of us, all of our goals that we have for the company internally are very personal. Because
it's cool.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check in with Janet. Janet, are you parked somewhere and actually able to talk? Because you can butt in anytime, but just go ahead and give us a shout out or show us that you're not moving. We're happy to have you in the conversation. Phil, is there you do all sorts of strategic stuff, so like this is like totally up your alley too. And how do you do the SMART goal thing? And then how do you do the desired part? Like, how do you involve that when you're trying to do your strategy with folks?
That's a very good and broad question.
Yeah, great. You can take it wherever you want. That's
how do you frame this? Yes. When you engage with a new client, I think is the most difficult thing to get over first, because you've got to try and understand what it is that they, I was going to say want, but Alan said this the other week, or last week, or on our conversation. It's not what the client really wants, it's what the client really needs. And trying to find out what the client really needs is to get his business going forward is something different. So what I'm talking about is I'm trying to think of a situation, and maybe one of the best was with UEFA. When I was doing some work with UEFA in Europe. And for those of you that maybe don't know, UEFA is the equivalent of the NFL over here. It's the Football Association in Europe. And I was working with their logistics department, and they have one logistics department that they hold all their storing for all the games, all the tournaments, with all the paraphernalia for setting up a stadium. And they wanted a kind of a risk assessment on having one warehouse in Belgium that supports a €6 billion industry or more these days. Trying to establish what the risk was. I mean, apart from just having one warehouse, you might think that was not a good idea for such a large corporation, but actually it has worked out quite well. I think the issue I found was that the guy who was running it, who is now a friend of mine, was good at his job, but didn't have any confidence in himself. He thought he wasn't doing a good job, and he actually was doing a good job. So the reducing, so he's not espousing back to his masters at UEFA that he is confident enough to be able to service 153 football stadiums across from Russia to Portugal, and from Greenland down to Italy and Greece.
Is that
very well?
UFA?
Yeah, it's UEFA.
UEFA. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so I spent more time with him initially, trying to build his confidence in himself. Because he knew a lot about the business. He actually been working in that business for quite some time, from the very basics of going to stadiums and helping to set up the tournament, or helping to set up all the advertising boards and the directors' boxes and the hospitality suites and all the kind of things that go on behind the scenes. And then tearing it all down again and bringing it back to the warehouse. And I actually joined him a couple of times on doing that. And so that was really interesting. And so when I asked them, yeah.
Great. Okay.
When I was spending time with him, it was just really about boosting his confidence and his management style with the people that were in the warehouse. Fast forward to today, I mean, he's been really successful. He still manages it. He manages it extremely well. And actually UEFA directors and presidents actually phone him when they want to know about what's going on with regards to distribution.
Wow.
Within that organization. So that was kind of an odd one, because it wasn't so much. I was talking to Alan earlier in the week. I love sitting down and swatting everything.
Smarting. Did you just say
smart opportunities and threats? I mean, it's just it's a brilliant document. But this wasn't swatting a business. This was like just swatting Andy, the guy who runs it. Yeah, Andy, the guy who runs the logistics for UEFA.
Yeah. You said swatting things?
Yeah, so I SWAT Andy instead. I SWAT a person instead of a business.
We
Yeah,
got- you gotta-
that stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Ah, okay. SWAT.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, sorry, Alan. I
I was
thought.
like, huh.
Yeah, Adam. I thought you knew what I was saying. Yeah. So I wasn't going in doing the business. I was going in doing the person, which is what I found. So I guess it's the opposite of what you were just saying, Alan. It wasn't going in for the room. It was going in for what's in the room, because what's in the room wasn't working.
Yeah, but you know, that really is, it strongly supports the point of your initial assessment is what do they need?
Yeah.
And if you don't focus on what they need and you only focus on what they want, I don't think you'll be successful. And so, you know, you discarded the want and you went to the need and you were successful. That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
You know, I want to, if I could, I'd like to take something that Lisa said and then circle back to what Adam said at the beginning of this.
Sounds
And that
delightful.
was the why. Lisa talked about, you know, someone wanting to become the next Amazon. And thinking about this meeting, I went back into my memory bank into the 80s, and there were two companies that set a goal that because they achieved it, they went out of business. And one of them was Worlds of Wonder. I don't know if you remember them. They made Teddy Ruxpin. And the other was Compaq Computer. And Teddy Ruxpin, the CEO, his goal was he wanted to be the fastest growing company in America. And Compaq's Computer, their CEO wanted to be number one on Inc. magazine's biggest companies. And they both achieved it, but they did it artificially. They produced and shipped product that really the market wasn't looking for. So they overshipped to the market to build the statistics to become number one. And then they started getting the returns, which put them out of business. And that really goes to the why.
Yeah.
When you set the goal, you've got to really have a good answer to the question why. Because, you know, just being number one is not an answer to me. And they're a cautionary tale. I mean, they were good businesses that killed themselves.
Wow. That's pretty good knowledge. It's kind of interesting too, to think about. Because the big thing they had was they wanted to be number one, but why did they want to be number one? And to what end?
Ego was the answer.
Yeah. I think that's most people to be number one. You've got to have a certain amount of ego to do that. I mean, look at Elon Musk. I mean, that guy's got such a huge ego, but he's really successful at what he does. I mean, he loves it.
What are you laughing about?
I don't know that his goal was to be number one at anything. His goal was just to create and produce, and the result was number one.
Huh.
I mean, I don't know him, so I can't know the answer. But
a lot of people argue he has a big ego.
Oh, how would he be able to achieve what he did without it? I mean, he put all his money on a rocket.
Yeah.
I mean, his personal fortune.
That's how
If
I'm going to be
blew
successful.
up, he'd have been out of business.
That's how I'm going to be successful. I've got a huge ego, and that's how I'll make it.
Well, yeah, but he's exceptionally smart as well, because Elon is somebody that moves. I remember Clayton Christensen from Harvard saying, "You move to where the money is." All right, and Musk has this unbelievable way of establishing where the money is and moving to it. And so, you know, when he wanted to get Tesla up and running, they've got this huge old GM plant, I think it is, in Fremont in California. And it's enormous. I've been there. It's a huge plant, and it's sitting empty because GM didn't want it and cashed it in years ago. And nobody wants it because it's so big. All right. the semiconductor companies didn't want it because they got all their own places. And so they've got this huge plant and it's doing nothing. And so it's costing the state more money than it is, you know, and so Elon moved into that market and said, okay, you know, I'll take this out of your hands for pennies and I'll start producing my cars. and that was the start.
That's cool.
And then the other, and of course, his other strategy was not to do dealerships like every car manufacturer does in the world. He went into the high street. He went into the high street and put a car shop in the high street.
What's a high street?
Like the Santana Row in
Main Street.
Yeah, Main Street.
Okay.
Main Street. Santana Row in San Jose is like the main street to be in. It's got Gucci, it's got Mont Blanc, it's got all the posh shops are down there, and right in the middle of it is Tesla in a shop with
Kind of like Rodeo Drive in LA.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different way of doing things. He moves where in unusual circles, but always moves where the money is.
What was your example, Lisa?
That mall over, what is it, off of Louisiana? I don't know. I've only been there. There's like I've only been there because one of my supply stores is there, but it's like
Uptown.
got a bunch of frou-frou stores like Michael Kors and yeah.
It's like Uptown.
Thank you, Uptown. I don't know why I wanted to call it Nob Hill. I'm still figuring out where everything is.
Nob Hill kind of, especially the way that the city's restructured that with Chavez, they really made it sort of like, you know, a showy place for a while, and then it went, yeah, it's doing interesting things. But yeah.
Yeah, that place looks very shishi. That little mall over there looked like it was like the whole point was to be very upscale. I mean, for, you know,
consumers. Yeah, it's good stuff. It has a neat vibe to it. Well, thank you guys for coming. Let me talk a little about these events. I didn't prepare any new events for today. It was one of those things where didn't happen. So, boop. All right. So the 1 Million Cups is happening. You can still check out Alibi events, and then Happy Neighborhoods Project is one of those happening. And next week, I will be doing how do you define your why, which is kind of like the sort of the goal thing and sort of lined up with that. But also, I talked to someone local who has the Why Institute. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
Okay. It's an actual local person that does that too. It's kind of exciting. But do you guys have other events that you know of that are happening? Online in particular? Okay. Did any of you guys make it to the B2B for exhibit? That was online. Yeah. I wanted to make it and then I missed it that week, but that's too bad. Janet, are you still there?
I was talking the other week to a guy that's helping with the business proposal that I'm putting together, who's he was an Intel executive and he's now kind of a teacher and he does a lot of teaching online. And I was thinking, I was saying to Alan the other day, I do a lot of case studies with Harvard. And what was crossing my mind, because I think they're fun, but yeah, again, maybe that's just me. And I was thinking, would it be a good idea to put case studies online, like over Zoom, all right? And you get, I can send the case study out to people and say, okay, you know, you get it maybe like 3 or 4 days before, read through the case study, and then you come on, and then we do what I do with Harvard, and that is go through it and say, well, what do you think? What is your outcome to this problem? I don't know. Do you think that's a good idea? Would that work?
It's like Fiverr, but for just the academic folk that want to do business stuff. Is that what you're thinking?
No, I think for anybody who wants to do something like inquisitive. I mean, it can be academic, but it's business related. They're all businesses, and they're either businesses or people, and the way people manage, or and it's just reading about a situation, and you start to discuss that situation.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. And I mean,
yeah,
if you want to do that
but the effort is, it's not like this. So we could come in. I mean, you could put it up and say, you know, okay, how would we get Lisa's company to really be able to develop itself and move itself forward? All right, and we could have that discussion. But if you're doing a case study, you've already got the base material of what's going on within the company or the person or the project. And you read up about it, and then you come in and you debate and say, well, how do you make that? How do you turn around issues or make it more of a success, or make decisions about whether this person should do this or not do this?
You know, I know a group that does that a little bit. 1 Million Cups. Like, that's one of our goals, is to do that. Are you thinking about doing it more like are you saying, and this is just kind of define your idea more, is what I'm asking this, is, so you're thinking about people getting together and discussing it like this, or are you thinking about outsourcing it, as in like putting it on the web and then it's more like a discussion forum?
It's 10 hours.
No, I mean, doing it done on Zoom. I mean, at the moment, I'm doing everything with, when I do it with Harvard, it's on Zoom. And so they send out the case studies about 4 or 5 days before. I pick which one I want, or two for that week. I go through it, and then I join in with a whole bunch of people from around the world, because they do it on a global basis.
So it's already being done, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's being done with Harvard, and obviously that's where I get a lot of my case study stuff from.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is we're doing two things. We're having fun because we're reading about a case study, and we're helping Harvard hone its online presence, and perfecting the technology of that online presence, because that's where they're really pushing when going forward. I've done similar things with Cornell, and when I did it with Cornell, I thought that it was really good. But when I did it with Harvard, it was like, wow, blows you away how much better they were doing it, you know?
Wow.
But they have a technology issue, and Zoom is pretty good for them, but they have, you know, it's how do you do the whiteboard? You know, I've been in an actual Harvard classroom where you've got a professor and you've got all the people, and then they have the big whiteboards or blackboards or whatever you want to call them.
Right.
And, you know, and as everybody's bringing in their ideas, he's writing them on the wall. So it's that part of the technology, like what you're doing there, right? That's difficult for them. And so they're trying to hone that with all these exercises they're doing. But the more exercises they do, the more fun I have doing it.
Hey, Phil, do you find that a good part of the value is in seeing all of the different approaches to the same problem and the different methods of analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. I use it for two things for me. All right, two main points. One is I want to measure my reasoned business thinking to a solution to a problem. All right, and how many people in that gathering that we have on Harvard actually agree with my point of view? And so that's important for me. And the other one is that what was the other one? I've gone out of my head. The other one is simply to be within the group. And I can't remember what the other one was, Alan, sorry. But there are people that disagree. But but generally I find that my reason and knowledge and my resolves to problems, I'm running around 70 to 80% of in line with everybody else. Now, that may be that we're all wrong and the other 30% are right, but that, I don't think I've found that as yet.
I really like where this conversation is going, but I only have a little amount of time. I'm going to wrap around real quick. Phil, do you know, can other people then get involved in this event?
Yeah, no, my idea was I've got the business reviews, all right? I can send those out to people. They can read them.
Yeah.
And then we all get together and say, okay,
Let's do that. We'll do that for a session.
I like that idea.
We'll do it for a Friday flow, and then if we want to do like others or something, we can go beyond that. That's cool. Yeah, if you email that to us, that'd be great. And Janet, welcome. I wanted to say hi to you as we're saying goodbye. You're muted. Can't hear you.
I was listening the whole time. I just, I was moving and stuff, so I was trying to be polite. But I listened. You guys, it was really interesting. Yeah, I want to hook up and hear what. I'd love to read the articles and then do that. That'd be great.
That's cool. Thank you, Janet, for listening in and joining for part of it. All right. Well, thank you, guys. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the other share screen so I can wrap this up all visually correct. Well, sort of correct. Something like that. Anyway, so thank you for some topics. I like that. And I hope that you guys have a great week and keep the sparks flowing. And that's where I end things. Thank you.
Have a good week,
Thank
guys.
you, Adam. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for hosting.
My privilege.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.